Tone Vays, analyst, derivatives trader, and event producer.
All right, morning everyone. Thank you for making it bright and early. Thank you, Iman and Sophie, for inviting me back here to AIBC in Malta. I have 10 minutes to talk about decentralization. I will not waste any time. My name is Tone Vays. I come from a traditional Wall Street environment. Those are the three educational events that I organize. So those that will like this presentation and interested, please look me up on YouTube and other social media. I really do want to talk about decentralization because that's how all of this started, this whole space. But just like the words blockchain and DeFi and NFTs, there's no standard definition of any of them. So here's how I define decentralization. And after listening to this, hopefully you can ask the right questions to any projects that claim to be so. So my view of decentralization is a triangle with three equally important parts. Those parts are coding, mining, and running a node. If these terms don't seem very familiar to you, then you really want to get familiar with them. In no particular order, we will start with the code, okay? Every project needs coding. The question is, who is doing that coding? A project can claim to have the greatest developer in the history of the world, but if it's just one person, that code base is not very decentralized. You don't know what that person is thinking. You don't know if that person could be coerced to put something in the code with no one else watching. Open source code simply means that others can see the code. It doesn't mean that they can contribute to the code base. In the case of Bitcoin, we have a large quantity of very highly skilled developers. So if you look at a giant project like Ethereum that claims to have tens of thousands of developers, it again doesn't really matter because what is the quality of those developers? So you need a high number of high quality developers. Now, in the case of Bitcoin, I know these charts are a little blurry and hard to see. In the case of Bitcoin, there are open statistics on which developers have coded how many lines of code into Bitcoin, and that's what makes that code base the most decentralized of all other projects. Now, here's an example of one of the upgrades. These were the developers involved in the upgrade that succeeded, and these were the developers that had the entire mining space and every major company rooting for, and they clearly failed. That became Bitcoin Cash, and we all know what became Bitcoin and what became basically an altcoin. Very slowly, Bitcoin is building out the biggest infrastructure since the internet itself. Again, it's hard to see the chart. Right here is the liquid sidechain, which will replace Ethereum. It is literally just one little thing that's built on top of this decentralized Bitcoin layer. Over in which corner? The Lightning Network is over in this corner, and this will replace all the scaling. Taproot, which just got added, is going to give Bitcoin amazing privacy, which will definitely replace all of the private coins. Everything will eventually migrate onto Bitcoin because it is the best decentralized cryptocurrency we have, and that still matters. It just takes a little bit of time because unlike any other project, if Bitcoin fails, everything fails. It proves that nothing is actually decentralized and nothing is resistant to attacks, whether internal, external, hackers, governments, doesn't matter, okay? So coding is just one part. The second part is mining. Everything started because Satoshi solved the double spending problem. People tried to solve the double spending problem. What is the double spending problem? How to send a digital message and lose possession of that message. That was the computer science problem. One man solved it. He didn't just solve it, he actually discovered it. And I can't take credit for this quote. I don't know who said it. You can only discover something once. You're not going to discover something a second time. Bitcoin created digital scarcity. Infinite amount of digital scarcity with 1 billion tokens is not digital scarcity. Mining is an absolute critical function. Now, a lot of people accuse mining itself of being a centralized part, but mining, even if it was centralized, which it isn't, is only one part of the decentralized triangle. So even if mining was centralized, the other two parts will not let the centralized mining cause any serious damage to Bitcoin, which is a big misconception. Now, mining itself takes place with pools, and pools do have some unreasonable amount of control over the transactions. But the same mining pool named Slush that developed the original software to create mining pools has developed a new software which pools will start adopting soon, which would allow any miner inside a pool build their own blocks and choosing their own transactions, making mining completely decentralized, no matter which country you are mining in. And if we compare Bitcoin mining to other tokens that are mineable, remember, mining is 1/3 of max decentralization. Proof of stake is a system we've had for thousands of years. Proof of work was created to eliminate proof of stake, not the other way around. So if we just look at some of the other popular tokens, and this graph is a little outdated, you can see how Bitcoin mining is way more decentralized than anything else. That's Dogecoin. Dogecoin's mining failed, and they now merge mine with Litecoin. Not going to get into why. Here is Ethereum. We can zoom in on Ethereum. As far as Ethereum goes, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I haven't gotten to the node part, which I'll have 3 minutes to cover. Ethereum has the same 3 parts. It has a code base, it has nodes, and it has mining. Ethereum is on a mission to eliminate mining. So Ethereum is literally on a mission to eliminate the only part of their entire project that is actually decentralized, because we all know who is the CEO of the code. And we'll talk about nodes in a second. So once the CEO of the code eliminates mining, I don't understand what decentralization will actually exist in that project whatsoever. Now let's talk about the last part, okay? So I have a degree in financial engineering. I used to, and I use the term very loosely. I used to code financial models on Wall Street, and I cannot contribute to the code base. It's way beyond my capability as a coder. My chances of starting a mining farm in Bitcoin are about the same as starting a mining farm for gold, but I can run a node. Anyone can run a node. Running a node in Bitcoin is actually doable. We have tens of thousands, if not over 100,000 nodes, because it only takes up 400 gigabytes of storage, and it's very, very simple. You can process your own transactions. If your decentralized project does not let you run a node to validate your own transactions, you have absolutely zero contribution to that decentralization. So running a node is absolutely critical. I'm not going to get into these graphs of actual Bitcoin nodes, and I'm just going to leave it there that the ability to run a node is what actually prevented the complete overtake of the Bitcoin network by those with the most Bitcoins, those with the companies in Bitcoin, and the miners that wanted to centralize Bitcoin. Node operators like myself prevented that with a user-activated soft fork. So before you start believing that you are building on or someone is promoting a decentralized project, ask the following 3 questions. Who is doing the coding? Can you see who's doing the coding? Can you mine it? Can anyone mine it? And can you run a node to validate the rules and enforce the rules that you believe in of the project? If you can, I strongly advise you to question the decentralized claim of any single project in the world. Thank you so much. You can find me on YouTube, and not going to get into NFTs. And these are the educational events that I organize around the world. Bitcoin, the technology of Bitcoin, and one for finance and traders. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you you can go for another. Oh, I have a few more minutes actually. So they did give me, no, because the assignment kept going and I took it as hurry up. I am happy to take questions if there's another microphone, now that I have a few more minutes and I sped up through the presentation. Someone has to have a question right there. Can we get another microphone? Now, it doesn't mean that these projects are bad. It just means they're not decentralized, and you should think of them more like a company with a CEO and a stock than some kind of an unstoppable thing. Because when push comes to shove, it will be, stopped or changed. Yes.
Yes. One question about incentives. About the code, what I understand is that you have an incentive to read it, to write it. But for the node, there is no incentive. Do you think that we should promote the operators of nodes with some incentives?
The incentive is money. The answer to most questions is money. The incentive to create your own token is mostly for fundraising because you don't want to owe anything to VCs or anyone else that is giving you money and now has some say in your project. So in the case of Bitcoin, it's also money, okay? You are now your own bank. When you're holding Bitcoin, you are holding Bitcoin yourself. And my responsibility is to protect my life savings and the life savings of my grandkids. So I will be running that node because that's how I can protect that life saving. So when Bitcoin becomes this decentralized, unstoppable global currency, and I know it sounds scary, but it's always sounded scary because some government entity was always going to have control of this unstoppable decentralized currency. But now no government will have control of it. So the only thing that would keep it that way is running a node. So the incentive of running a node is to protect your wealth. It's no different than armed security in front of a gold vault, okay? That's what every single person does. So that's what makes it very, very critical. So that's the ultimate incentive. There's also an ultimate incentive to mining, okay? Right now, there is a financial incentive to mining, so everyone's mining. What if there wasn't a financial incentive to mining? Would people still mine? Absolutely. If a company depends on Bitcoin in order to make money, there are many companies now, Bitcoin exchanges, even Coinbase. Imagine if Netflix starts putting up a QR code. You no longer need a credit card. Netflix is used all over the world because of Bitcoin. They're making billions of dollars thanks to Bitcoin's existence. Why not spend a few $100 million on running miners? Even if they lost you $100-something million a year, you're still making $1 billion because of Bitcoin's existence. So there's lots of incentives that aren't direct financial compensation. All right, next question.
Yeah, I know that you do your YouTube channel with a lot of training and education. You also have your retreats where you have started really kind of educating people in a more confined environment. Can you talk a little bit about your retreats and sort of share what those are about?
Sure. So the events, this one, literally, we teach people how to set up a wallet. We teach people how to use Lightning. We even teach people how to build your tokens on top of the Liquid sidechain. Look, I'm not a big fan of tokens, but if you're going to do it, at least do it on top of an actual decentralized, unstoppable platform. Okay? At least then I can debate you on the merits of the token and not the fact that you built it on top of something unscalable that one day will probably collapse. Okay? That is a bad technological choice, no matter how easy that choice was. It only takes 5 minutes to create an ERC20, but if you actually build something that's usable on top of an ERC20, what are you going to tell all of your users if Ethereum stops functioning? Now, I'm not saying Ethereum will stop functioning. I believe that it will. It's not guaranteed, but the probability of Ethereum not functioning into the future is significantly higher than the probability of Bitcoin not functioning in the future because of the way it was built to begin with developers that understand scaling. So be careful on that from a technology perspective. The Financial Summit tries to connect young traders and funds together. So it's basically a retreat for financial professionals, because I do come from a traditional Wall Street environment. I mostly travel and educate about Bitcoin and the technology, but the way I used to earn a living is trading. Most people watch my YouTube channel to get my advice on the price of Bitcoin. I know it's not a great way to build an audience, but I kind of use that to then educate them about what Bitcoin really is. So that's what the Financial Summit does. It just tries to connect financial professionals to talk about investing into the future. Question? We need a microphone. 5 minutes to go.
You mentioned that proof of work was created to get rid of proof of stake, but isn't it, what we read about the proof of work is too burdensome, too slow, too energy consuming, too of this, too of that. So are these problems with proof of work real?
Sure. Well, it's not. It's definitely not too slow. It takes an average of 10 minutes to mine a block to have final confirmation, right? So when people say a credit card is instant, no, a credit card final confirmation takes 6 months, right? Our current financial system, you can call the bank and you can question a transaction from 3 months earlier, and you can probably get that transaction reversed, okay? Bitcoin creates finality within, well, pretty good finality within 10 minutes and amazing finality after an hour, okay? There's nothing like it in the world. So when a project says we have finality after 8 seconds, no you don't, because your blockchain is not secure. It's final until a hacker takes it down, and then it's like it never existed. So it's all about how strong that finality is. And in Bitcoin on-chain, it's 30 minutes, and your transaction, the probability of that transaction changing ever is incredibly tiny, probably close to 0. So as far as the energy is concerned, the more energy humans use, the better our life is, okay? I say, if you don't like energy usage, how did you get to this event if you didn't walk here? So our life is better with energy. Drying clothes with electric dryers take up more energy than all of Bitcoin mining around the world. And there is absolutely 0 reason to have clothes dryers. You can hang your clothes outside. There's a gaming conference going on, okay? Gaming takes, I don't know how many magnitudes more energy around the world, playing video games, than mining Bitcoin. You can't tell me that playing video games is more important for the world on its energy use than Bitcoin. Eventually, Bitcoin will take up possibly half of the world's energy. And that is a good thing, because it will separate government's control from money, giving everyone in the world more freedom, the way we have more freedom the way we had more freedom 2 years ago, traveling around the world on an airplane because of energy use. So I see it as a great thing, not to mention the financial incentives of mining Bitcoin will absolutely revolutionize energy creation. There has never been a capitalistic use for energy. Okay, now an innovator, if he finds a better, cheaper way to use renewable energy, he has a direct way of making money from that by mining Bitcoin and outcompeting his competitors. So this drive for capitalism will actually revolutionize the world and make it more renewable energy and cleaner energy. Yes? Microphone, please.
Yeah, hello. I see that you're quite informed and knowledgeable about Bitcoin. I myself had Bitcoins at the very initial stage, and I got out for the box. I have still a couple of concerns in order to come back into Bitcoin. According to your knowledge or your gut feeling or your guess, most likely, what is the number of people holding Bitcoin today understand what Bitcoin is? Just
so-
before you finish,
Yes.
second question. Obviously, and where is the psychological level of people are prepared, at what price would is humanity or those involved in Bitcoin are accepting a price point today? Because it's obviously when we see a 48, 49 billion of transactions per day and the volatility that can run through the same week of 20% of value of anything.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything adopts at the same time. Bitcoin is slowly becoming more private. It's slowly becoming more scalable. Volatility will not matter for small transactions. If you're using the Lightning Network and you're paying for that cup of coffee, Bitcoin dropping from $100,000 to $80,000 overnight will not affect the price of your coffee if you're paying for it in Bitcoin. It'll affect the price of a house, it'll affect the price of a car, but it's not going to affect that coffee. Over time, larger and larger transactions will be less affected by volatility. As far as selling your Bitcoin for more dollars, that is eventually going to end as well, because people will just be using Bitcoin. There's really no reason in the future to sell it. Even if Bitcoin is going to go down by 5-10%, what are you going to go into? Are you really going to go into, well, maybe the US dollar is still strong, but every decade there is a dozen countries with hyperinflation where their currency devalues 50, 60%. Every decade. This last decade alone, there was about 15 countries in the world. And the money printing that's happening will only make it worse. So in a decade, there will be no reason to ever exit your Bitcoin position unless you're buying a house with it, unless you're buying a car with it, unless you're upgrading your standard of living. So that's how I see the future. The word remittance will be removed from the dictionary because everyone will just be paying each other in Bitcoin. That is how I see the future. As far as how many people hold Bitcoin that understand it, only those that only hold Bitcoin really understand it. Those that have a diversified portfolio across crypto are more interested in raising their wealth in fiat terms than actually understanding Bitcoin and trying to make the world a better place by separating people's control of money. All right, thank you guys. I think my time is up. Oh, and run a node. Hold Bitcoin and run a node. Those are the people that really understand Bitcoin.